Good morning, I'm Steve Gustitis and this is Walkabout. In this video we'll talk about different and common patterns of contour lines that you'll find on topographic maps. So stick around if you're interested in learning about these patterns. All that is coming up right after this. This is our third video in our series on topographic maps. In video number 1, we learned about why we should be using topo maps when we're out in the field during our backcountry trips. In video number 2, we talked about contour lines and how to interpret them on a map. Now, let's get to some of those common patterns that we'll find on topo maps. A series of concentric rings of contour lines on a map indicates that it's a hill or a peak. On our diagram, you can see how easily this pattern is to identify. And remember that each point on the same contour line is the same elevation above sea level. On this topo map, I've circled several concentric contour line ring patterns. The second common pattern of contour lines on a topo map are U-shaped lines that meet bottom to bottom. This indicates a pass or a saddle between two adjacent hills or peaks. In our diagram, you can see these two peaks, these two sets of concentric contour lines, and then the U-shaped contour lines that meet bottom to bottom. This is another very common pattern that you'll see on topo maps. Here is an example on a topo map showing one of these saddles or passes between two adjacent peaks. The next common pattern is where we have contour lines that are very close together. Remember, this indicates a very rapid change of elevation, which might mean a steep climb or even a cliff. On this topo map, you see several examples of these areas on the map where the contour lines are very close together. Again, this pattern of contour lines is easily recognizable and is very common on topo maps, especially in mountainous areas. Before I forget, follow us on Instagram. I put the link down in the description. The next common pattern of contour lines are nested U's or nested V's on a map pointing uphill. This reflects a valley or gully of some type. Often you'll see streams indicated inside of these nested U's or V's. In this particular example on the topo map, you can see this blue line that comes down through this nested V. Blue lines on a topo map indicate streams or rivers. And remember that these nested U's or nested V's always point uphill when there's a stream indicated on the map. Our next common pattern of contour lines on topo maps are nested U's or V's going downhill this time. That would indicate some type of ridge in that area. On this topo map, we can see an example of this particular feature. Again, a very common pattern of contour lines that you'll find on these maps. Our next common pattern of contour lines on topo maps reflect a bench or a shelf in otherwise steep terrain. On this topo map, we can see a bench or shelf where the contour lines suddenly spread apart, indicating a slower rate of elevation change in that area. The more topographic maps you study, the easier it will be to identify these common patterns in contour lines. Practice, practice, and even more practice. If you thought the video today was helpful to you, give it a thumbs up and even consider sharing it with a hiking buddy. In any case, as always, I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time here at Walkabout.